Hi there, it's Inktober, day 30. We're almost finished now, and today's prompt is gear. So when I saw the prompt for gear, honestly, my head went straight for steampunk. That was exactly what I thought of, and that's exactly what I wanted to do. I love steampunk, I love the aesthetics, and when I had a look on Pinterest, it just got all of the ideas going, and it was really fun, the planning of this one, trying to figure out which aspects that I really liked. And I liked a lot of stuff that I saw on Pinterest. There were some really good pieces of art, but unfortunately with steampunk, the main thing I noticed was a lot of the art, a lot of it in general, is very complex, and I was kind of looking at it like, this could take me ages. And so I tried to simplify it as much as I could. I found a corset and dress that I absolutely loved, so I knew I wanted to do a woman, and I tried to practice some gears as well, tried to get the main components down, and then I also wanted to do the hat with the goggles. Of course, it's absolutely iconic for steampunk, so I got all of the components that I like together and just kind of pieced together different aspects of it. The concept for this one was a young woman wearing a corset dress with a hat and goggles on and gears forming the background. The background wasn't supposed to be like a location, it's just kind of a load of gears in sort of an abstract form. They're not going to have much depth to them, it's very much going to be like solid 2D background. So that's the idea that I had. It wasn't supposed to be really complicated. A lot of the pieces of art that I saw on Pinterest were very complicated, very complex, and they were amazing. They were truly like what you would associate with steampunk. They looked so good, but they were very complicated. They looked like they would take days and days, and obviously I couldn't do that for Inktober. So I tried to make it as simple as I could. I took the elements that I like. I found a dress that I absolutely loved, and the face I just kind of had to make up, and I had a vague idea of like the hat and the goggles. The background was probably a lot more complicated than it needed to be. I had quite a few gears in the end because I felt like the gears ended up being a lot smaller than I had planned. Basically, I did the bigger gears, and because you could only see the inside of it, you couldn't see the kind of jaggedy edges around it. It didn't really look like a gear, so it ended up doing a lot smaller ones just to make sure that while you got the middle, you also got the edges, which really make it look like a gear rather than just like a load of lines, which didn't really make sense. So the background did end up being a lot more complicated than I had anticipated, but I do think this one really worked and it really showed potential. I loved steampunk, I love so many aspects of it, and I honestly would love to do more in watercolour. I really loved the entire vibe. I kind of noticed that when I do a lot of portraits and a lot of like portraits of women, I generally do just people that I find like Pixabay, like royalty-free references, and I don't really put my own spin on it. I don't change their clothes, change their look, and give them a backstory like with the steampunk, like with fairy. And I love that. I love giving it a backstory and actually creating the kind of fantasy element towards it. So that's what I would like to do. I'd like to do more portraits, but giving them a bit more character, because I didn't realise how much I just kind of use the references but don't put my own spin on it. And I do think that is probably a lack of confidence, and because I'm not great with anatomy, I need to practice people. I really, really need to practice people knowing exactly where the highlights and the shadows are and the pains on the face. That's something that I definitely need to do and I'm working on. But I do think I've actually got better. Even this person's face, I do think is a lot better than Gargoyle. I think maybe the original sketch isn't fantastic, but you'll see when I do the shading on the face, I do think it's a lot better than Gargoyle. So I do think there's definitely improvement as the Inktober challenge has been going on. I really haven't done many people though. I haven't drawn many. And I didn't want there to be tons of people because I generally do portraits. That's what I've been doing, especially at the moment. I started off with a load of landscapes in watercolour, and I started doing portraits and I absolutely loved it, and that's all I've really been doing lately. So I wanted to keep my like broaden my horizons, keep completely open for this Inktober challenge. I wanted to do portraits, landscapes, objects. I wanted to do everything to try and figure out what ones I like and if there are aspects that I've not even tried before that I really like. For example, for Snap, I absolutely love that. That is surreal, but I feel like it actually works. And I really love the concept. I love doing it. It was good fun. And I would love to do something like that in future with watercolour. I haven't really done surrealism like at all. And I've done that quite a few times on this Inktober challenge. So that's definitely something that I want to do more. But I feel like I have learned quite a lot about my art through this challenge. And it's going to be fantastic to have a look through the entire book. The book won't be finished though, because I was looking for a sketchbook and the one I ended up getting was the himi mixed media. And the link is in the caption below. And basically, because I knew I wanted planning on one side, when I was looking for a sketchbook, like it needed to be at least like 34 pages, I thought. And sketchbooks aren't, like watercolour and mixed media sketchbooks, they just weren't. I couldn't find one that would be 31 plus like the prompt list and the title. Like I couldn't really find anything. So I ended up getting the himi mixed media, which is like 62 pages or something. It's crazy. So I've done the entire Inktober challenge and I'm halfway through the sketchbook. It's mad. It's going to be so big. It's already so big. Everything that I'm doing on the left page is just my planning, so I haven't actually tried using ink on the left page, but the left page is massive. It's so high, and luckily I'm right-handed, so doing the right page has been like absolutely fine. But yeah, I'm halfway through my sketchbook now. But that's the one that I'm using. I've got all the links down below of my supplies, which is fantastic because I use quite a lot of stuff and it's hard to explain exactly what I'm using. But yeah, I like trying brand new sketchbooks out, so that's what I did for this challenge. And it seems to have handled the ink really quite well, but I did try out ink on lots of different sketchbooks when I did my first impressions video, and that was my first time using India ink. It was only like 2 weeks before the beginning of Inktober, and honestly the ink worked really well on lots of different types of paper, so I don't think there's like one paper fits all for ink. Depends how you use it. So as I was just filling this in, I saw this reference photo on Pinterest that I absolutely loved. It was, the girl's hair was actually up in a bun, but it was like white in the front with black in the back. And obviously I've seen that like loads and it's in films and lots of characters. But I thought that would look really good in India ink, so that's kind of what I did. And I do think it worked. I filled in the gaps in the cogs and the gears, pure opaque India ink, like just pure black. And then when I was doing the gears, I was half contemplating leaving them all white, but I felt like that didn't really work. So I had to do some lighter and darker kind of greys just to have a little bit of separation really, because the gears just really blended together. So that's what I did there. For the woman, it was difficult to kind of fill her in with the ink because there was black and white behind her. So I chose to do some of the corset in pure black, and I kind of think she disappears a little bit into the background because of that. But then the areas that I left white don't really stand out either. So I think it was just very difficult to try and fill in her clothes and everything in India ink when the background has both black and white on it. It was really hard to kind of make her stand out at all. And I don't think I did a fantastic job, but I used a little bit of wet on wet for the sleeves, and generally I just did light greys and tried to do more like patterns with the dip pen rather than trying to fill in different colours. I'm really happy with how this one turned out. I hope you like it. I definitely want to do more steampunk in future, possibly with watercolour. Make sure that you're subscribed so you don't miss tomorrow's, the very final one. It's day 31 and the prompt will be farm for tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.